A talk show that cuts to the truth, no matter how painful it might be, and no BS. Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith.
Here is a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the dogs, the filth. Here is someone who stood up.
It's time for Citizen Smith.
Hi, how are you? You doing all right? Are you doing all right?
We're okay. We're okay. We're
You
fine.
feeling good today?
We're fine. Thank you.
Comb your hair, would you?
Yeah, I didn't put any
God damn.
sticky stuff in it today. I didn't put the wax or whatever the hell I used to keep it down. It's looking crazy.
Yeah, all right.
All right, there we go. One of the things we don't do in this world is take care of our wildlife good enough. It's always a secondary thing in the way America has evolved as a nation, the world. Who needs trees and old growth forests? They make great homes. Yeah, but if we cut those trees down, what will happen to all the animals that rely on them? Whatever, You want a nice home, or do you want a few woodpeckers? You make the choice. Make a lot of money building homes and selling them, and then people have nice places to live, and the hell with the woodpecker. Well, what about the woodpecker's home? It's the trees. Well, not anymore. They'll go extinct. That's pretty much the way we've run things in this world. And that's why we have a new list of endangered species that have now become extinct. And this is just tears me apart inside. The ivory-billed woodpecker, extinct. Yep. Along with 22 other species of birds, fish, mussels, and other wildlife. They have been declared extinct.
Which woodpecker? Which one?
The ivory-billed. It was the biggest woodpecker in the world.
The biggest pecker in the world?
Let's try not to be too silly with this. It's a very serious topic.
Okay. And what is it called again?
Try to have some fucking empathy, please.
The what?
It's a picture of it. I'm using CNN here. They followed up. New York Times did a great spread front page. I meant to bring it in, and I left it at home. So I'm using the CNN one right now. But they both covered the same issue because it's that big a deal. We're losing species. I mean, they're extinct. They're gone forever. And why? Because human beings killed them. Because we took away their environment. Or we just killed them. Hunting them and poaching. We're on Mars trying to find a trickle of water and maybe some sort of amoeba or something resembling, some single-celled animal. And we can't even find that. Yet on the planet where we have this biodiversity, we could give two shits. We don't care. We're looking all over the universe for another sign of life. Meanwhile, what we have on our own planet, we're just killing off. We're a shameful species. I feel like the young activist there, Una Thunberg.
Greta
Thunberg. How do you say her last name?
Sure.
Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. All the kids were on skipped class last week to take the same stands as her on climate change. I was walking downtown and I saw them all.
I got to say, the ivory-billed woodpecker, though, pretty nice looking.
Was nice looking.
It's got a little, it's a woodpecker.
All the old growth forests it lived in got torn down and cut down, and now they no longer exist. Climate change, natural area loss, pushing more and more species to the brink. Now is the time to lift up proactive. Now is the time? The time was 50 years ago. Collaborative and innovative efforts to save America's wildlife. Deb Haaland, the Interior Secretary, said Wednesday. The Endangered Species Act has been incredibly effective at preventing species from going extinct and has also inspired action to. I don't want to read the political bullshit. We've lost so many species in this planet. It's terrible. And in America, when you walk around your city parks and state parks, you don't see the old growth forests anymore. They tore them all. They cut them all down. Old growth forests sustain many of the older creatures of the planet. Once the oldest trees go, the oldest species go. Same thing for the Amazon. They're just cutting the hell out of that place, and there goes another species. Who knows how many endangered species in that forest have gone down to extinction?
Seems like it just seems like they would know about these things before they start cutting.
You're assuming a lot.
mean-
Well, they do know about that. They
well,
don't
I
care.
feel like they, yeah. well,
We knew about species in old growth forests in America, and we knew damn well when we cut them down they were going to wipe out species. We're destroying the habitat they only live in. I walk around Portland and I see these old growth trees here and there, and I think to myself, wow, this was a whole forest of them before this city was built. There was these massive, gorgeous Douglas firs and cypress trees or whatever, they're just gorgeous. I mean, I've never seen such beautiful trees, and there was a forest full of them. When you drive up and down the I-84 and you go through the Dalles, and you pronounce it Dallas. Is it Dalles
no,
or
it's
Dallas?
The Dalles.
Yeah, you said Dallas the other
No,
day.
well, there's a Dallas, Oregon, Southern.
Oh,
and
is
then
that what
there's-
you were referring to?
Yeah, and then they got the Dalles.
So you're going through the I-84, and there's the waterfalls and the forest high above. It's a beautiful stretch of highway. And all I could think is before this highway was here and the dams, all these beautiful forests and waterfalls were flowing right down to the edge of the Willamette River or the Columbia River. And it must have been beautiful. It must have been spectacular to see for the first time when you were the frontiersmen and women that came here for the first time, or the native Indians that were living in that habitat. I wish I could go back in time and see it. And then you can imagine the species. They had brown bears and grizzlies back then. So the ivory-billed woodpecker was never known as a common bird because it depended on large southern swamps with lots of space and food to thrive, according to the American Bird Conservancy. Once its habitat began to disappear because of uncontrolled logging, the woodpecker became scarce. It was frequently shot by hunters and collectors, which likely contributed to its disappearance, the Conservancy said. So there's always one species they pick as an emblem of the problem, and this is the ivory-billed woodpecker. It was in Louisiana in the 1940s, said John Fitzpatrick, Director Emeritus of the Cornell Laboratory of Ornithology. But there are reports, sightings, and grainy video of the bird dating to the early 2000s in eastern Arkansas that haven't been confirmed. And he says, quote, "My view, it's way premature to declare the bird extinct officially on the part of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service because the bird may still exist." Well, wouldn't that be something if somebody got a picture of it or discovered, and it's just the drama of maybe finding an extinct species, which they've done. They do that. We thought this was extinct, and suddenly they find one emerging somewhere. I wanted to go to the New York Times article, though, because they did a really in-depth front page article on this, because we don't do this all the time. These extinction announcements every 10 years, they're not every day.
Yeah.
They give it 20 years they'll wait or something before they
Right.
confirm such things are happening.
Well, I saw a related article. They always give you a related article. And not just the animals, but they say that 1 in 3 species of plants and animals in the next 50 years could disappear. Scary.
It's not scary. It's it's just it's such an alarm bell going off. And here's they had a picture in the New York Times article of the last video of the Ivory build. It's in black and white. It's just you're looking at like the last video and
Yeah, it's a little blurry.
view of it. You can't see it.
Yeah, it's a little blurry though.
Yeah.
It's-
All right,
The
but
light's
you can go
bouncing.
to just do a Google search and you'll see it. It's just you're looking at something that's no longer around on the planet. They say, and I don't know when I read these things, I just think to myself, what are we doing? Why are we causing these things? We need to stop the way we've been living on this planet. A little better. Here we go.
Yeah, like I said, the lights kind of shine off of it.
Oh, I see. And we need to change the way we do things. So
here's a picture of it. I have a picture of the bird. I showed it earlier.
Did you?
Yeah, I'll put it up there. I think this is a stuffed bird though. So
talking about this isn't as sensational and entertaining as other topics, right? That we're used to. Oh, there it is. Look, it looks like a stuffed bird. Yeah,
it is.
That's
one of the
last one we got.
Yeah, that's it.
See how it's the biggest. It's the biggest woodpecker in
It's
North
pretty big.
America. In all, 22 animals and one plant have been declared or should be declared extinct and removed from the endangered species list. The federal wildlife officials announced yesterday.
What other animals fell on there? Does it say?
Yeah, I'll get into some of them here because I just wanted to spend some time on this because it's something that for me very very important to cover, and it should be for every human being to have some concern. But a lot of people would just say, "Who gives a damn?" So what?
Messes up my plans.
One
for that.
less. What are you gonna do? You're gonna put animals before humans?
Messes up my plans to open up that Kentucky Fried Roadrunner joint, though. That's really, Kentucky Fried Woodpecker.
It's funny.
They'll be all right.
Global biodiversity crisis is going on, threatening millions of species with extinction. This is, I believe, the 6th extinction occurrence in planet Earth, but this is the first one caused by man. And we'll just say humans to be politically correct. And that's what's making this one unique. The other ones were environmental occurrences that happened in the natural world. Glaciers, freezing temperatures, climate change that happened naturally, volcanic eruptions, a comet smashing into the earth. This one's just us being ignorant, cutting down trees, destroying habitat, and killing animals till there's none left. Offering a glimpse of the future, these endangered species that are now extinct. Farming, logging, mining, damming. All these activities by human beings have caused animals to be killed by pollution and habitat destruction, and of course, poaching and overfishing. Throw that all together, and we're just doing a hell of a job destroying our good planet, Mother Nature.
Too many people. It's too many people, man. Yeah, you got to farm to eat. You got to do certain things to survive. You got to have power. You got to have all that. Less people, less of the other things.
This quote, each of these 23 species that are declared extinct represent a permanent loss to our national heritage, our nation's natural heritage, and to global biodiversity, said Bridget Fahey, who oversees species classification for the Fish and Wildlife Service. Quote, and it's a sobering reminder that extinction is a consequence of human-caused environmental change. The extinctions, and I'm using the New York Times article now, includes 11 birds, 8 freshwater mussels. Like, who cares about mussels, right? But they have a very important part of the ecosystem. They play a role in cleaning the water as a food source, habitat for animals. 2 fish, a bat, and a plant. They say many of them were likely already extinct before the Endangered Species Act passed in 1973. In other words, before 1973, we didn't even have an Endangered Species Act because we didn't give two We didn't care at all about the animals we shared the planet with in North America. Somebody finally said, I'm seeing a lot of problems. Like, I don't see the birds I used to see. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if it exists anymore. Is there something we could do to protect them? The Endangered Species Act wasn't passed in time to save most of these species that we now list as extinct, said Noah Greenwald, Endangered Species Director of the Center for Biological Diversity, a nonprofit group. It's a tragedy, quote. It is a tragedy. It's just a friggin' tragedy. Since the passage of the Endangered Species Act, 54 species in the United States have been removed from the endangered list because their populations recovered. Hey, a little positive news. While another 48 have improved enough to move from endangered to threatened. So far, 11 listed species have been declared extinct, and now this additional number coming. A 60-day public comment period on the new batches of 23 that they were going to list as that's a lot of species to lose. 23? Think about that. That's a lot of animals to wipe off the planet that were there for millions of years. So thousands and thousands of years evolving, and then we just wiped them out in 50 years.
Humans are pretty good at that.
Without conservation, scientists say many more species will disappear. Humans are transforming the planet so drastically, they add, much more needs to be done. And boy, have I not been hearing that my entire life. When I was in middle school, they were saying that. When I was in elementary school, they were saying that. We're talking 1970. They've been saying this. 50 years later, they're saying it. When the hell are we going to work as a world and a nation, and even just North America and Canada, right? Or just the U.S.? Can't we just... So we've taken down so much habitat. Now, how do you reconstruct habitat loss? One proposal has gained traction recently, a plan known as 30 by 30, protect at least 30% of Earth's land and oceans by 2030. That's it. That's all we're asking for. 30% for the wildlife, 70% from humankind. I think that's a fair trade. As a matter of fact, I think nature's getting a raw deal. Sure would have liked to have seen 50-50. Isn't it kind of an equal partnership? Mother Nature and wildlife share the planet with us, so it's a partnership on the planet. But as humans, we take 70%. We'll give 30% back to the wildlife. That's how it's worked. But better 30% than cutting it down to 20 or 10. As I said, scientists do not declare extinctions lightly. It often takes decades of fruitless searching. In other words, they just keep searching for decades. And if they just don't find the species, then they say it's extinct. By the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the global authority on the status of animals and plants. It's the first time I've actually heard of that organization.
Maybe they're so good at hiding, because they don't want to become extinct. maybe that's the deal.
You know how hard it is to, like, if you got like an animal and that doesn't, like, this, I was saying that many times they'll be looking for another species and they'll discover another one that either they didn't know existed or they thought was extinct. So it's not an exact science, this deal of proven extinctions. No animal in the batch has been sought more passionately than the ivory bill and largest woodpecker in the U.S. Once inhabiting old-growth forests and swamps in the southeast, like I said, the birds declined as European settlers and their descendants cleared forests and hunted them. The last confirmed sighting was in Louisiana in 1944. Hawaii was one of the mentions they said where they're really having a problem with endangered species becoming extinct, plant species and birds.
Really?
Yeah. When I was in Kauai, in Maui, the Nukupu'u has been documented since 1996, hasn't been documented since 1996. Cute, beautiful little bird, probably extinct in Hawaii and Maui.
Yeah,
Can't say it again?
yeah, it's a little glary.
Gorgeous little golden, yellowish, beautiful bird with this funky, weird beak that's curved and long. Nukupu, Nukupuu. Oh yeah, yes. So the island of Hawaii is facing serious problems,
Yeah.
and it's islands face the biggest problem because these are real isolated creatures that can't go anywhere else. And humans introducing foreign species has been a serious problem in the Hawaiian island chain. Guam, 11 of the species have been in Hawaii and Guam are facing extinction or be delisted from the endangered species list, meaning they're gone. Pigs, goats, and deer destroy forest habitat in the islands. Rats, mongoose, and brown tree snakes prey on native birds and bats. And I never thought of this one, mosquitoes, which did not exist in Hawaii until they arrived on ships in the 1800s.
Damn.
Kill birds by infecting them with avian malaria. That's the kind of pressure the animal and wildlife native to the Hawaiian chain of islands are under in Guam. Hawaii once was home to more than 50 species of forest birds known as honey creepers, some of them brightly colored with long curved beaks like the nukupu. Used to drink nectar from flowers. Taking into account the proposed extinction in this batch, only 17 are left. That's sad, man. Imagine losing the majority of your native birds in the Hawaiian chain of islands and Guam. Birds that lived in higher in the mountains were once safe from avian malaria because it was too cold for mosquitoes. But because of climate change, the mosquitoes have spread higher. See how it all comes together? It was first introducing foreign species that are killing them, and then climate change adds to the problem of the foreign species that were introduced, like mosquitoes. We are in a real quandary in this world. How do you overcome all this? You can't. This mass extinction is not, this is what they're calling it, a mass extinction underway. They said only a couple of species have shown resistance in the Hawaiian chains for the malaria. So more are likely to face extinction unless mosquitoes can be controlled over the whole landscape. A friggin' mosquito wiping out. And then they talked about the archive of 6 species of mussels. This is like the ones that are not high profile. Mussels, freshwater mussels, are among the most imperiled groups in North America to go extinct. But scientists don't know enough about the 8 species of freshwater mussels on the list of endangerment to say for sure why they disappear. The extinctions are likely connected to the reservoirs that humans built over the last 100 years, turning mussels' rivers into lakes. Freshwater mussels rely on adaptations developed over untold years of evolution. Check out how it works. Female mussels lure in fish with an appendage that looks like a minnow, crayfish, snail, insect, or worm, depending on the species. Then the mussel squirts out their larvae, which attach to the fish, forcing it to shelter and ultimately distribute them. Perhaps the mussels went extinct because their host fish moved or disappeared itself. And finally, the mussels proposed for extinction are the flat pigtoe, green blossom pearly mussel, southern acorn shell, stirrup shell, tuberclad blossom pearly mussel, and turgid blossom pearly mussel, upland cum shell, and the yellow blossom pearly mussel. And again, the Hawaiian birds we're talking about, Kauai, Akioa, Akialoa, Kauai nukupu, Kauai o, large Kauai thrush, Maui ikipa, Maui's nukupu, and Molokai creeper and the boli. I hope I got them all right. And the only plant on the list in Hawaii is, try this one out, Philostogia glabra va. I forget it. Anyway, they got one on there. And from Guam, there is the bridled white-eye bird and the little Mariana fruit bat. From Texas, there is the San Marcos gambusia fish. And from Ohio, the Scioto matum fish. The Bachman warbler and ivory-billed woodpecker were found in the southeast. That is the extinction list for 2021. I don't care if I spent the whole show on it and bored the hell out of some people. I hope you read the entire list again, and maybe we should I would like to see some action by us as humans to do something as a group or as a whole. But it's so hard to get people to care about such things. If you don't care about them, why will you protect them? It always starts with children, they say, right? We had the high school kids skipping school, protesting for climate change policies. And as we talk about climate change, I hope we talk about species and extinction. And I think that's a dialogue that doesn't happen enough until we wait to the very last minute and say, oh, too late. These went extinct. And losing a species is no small thing. I mean, it's a huge loss. I mean, it's to see human beings being able to do this, it shows the power of our ability to destroy. And I wish I could do something, instead of just watching it happen. I'm trying to convey it in a podcast and talk about it, but I mean, we had the Klamath Fall tribal biologists come on to talk about the suckerfish going extinct in the Klamath River and Klamath Lake. Oregon has its own species, such as the spotted frog.
The spotted frog.
The marbled murrelet. The Warner sucker, a short-nosed sucker, the Lost River sucker, the Hutton twig chub, the bull trout, the Horton cutthroat trout, beautiful fish species, endangered. You know what I saw? The monarch butterflies is one of the greatest high-profile species.
Yeah,
they're on the verge of extinction.
They're on the wait list.
This is the butterfly we see flying around as kids commonly. And they only breed in one place in Mexico. And their flights to and from the North America to that area have been interfered with by habitat loss and the milkweed that they feed on. And to lose a monarch butterfly, that is like the one butterfly I grew up as a child watching frequently. And to see something like that go, it's almost unfair. I can't believe we could lose something like that. You know, one that I saw a documentary that I couldn't believe was on the list, and certain giraffes are on the facing extinction. Giraffes.
Giraffes?
Yeah.
Is that like good to eat or something?
On it.
It just sounds disgusting.
People kill them to eat them.
Gross.
In Africa. And they're on the verge of extinction.
Wonder what the size of a giraffe ribeye looks like. Holy cow.
I mean, how the hell can a giraffe go extinct?
It's crazy.
Because of habitat loss, they build power lines, like they documented in this documentary. Power lines, and the power lines are built so low that the giraffes walk into them and get electrocuted.
Jesus. Oh my.
And this is leading to the massive loss of herds and breeding couples of giraffes vulnerable to extinction. Come on, we got to get it together, people. We're looking for life on Mars and Jupiter and somewhere in the universe. We got it right here. Let's take care of it. That's it for today's show. I'm Citizen Smith. Don't be bummed out. Make a change. Help save the planet. Help save wildlife. If you do one thing, do that. I'll talk to you tomorrow.